This section is on B.1.5, which is going from a graph to equation. So for your classwork today, you're only going to actually do problem 57, and it's going to be A through F. We're going to do a couple of those together to kind of get you guys started. And then after you finish problem 57, you're going to be working on the math notes, which are on step functions. And again, that's in that box that's called methods and meanings. There is a problem 58, which you will not be doing, okay? So 57 says, use the clues provided in each graph below to find a possible corresponding equation in y equals a times b to the x form. Assume that if the graph has an asymptote, it is located on the x-axis. So that's where y is equal to 0. So just as a reminder, the a in the exponential equation is the 0th term, or essentially it's just the y-intercept, and the b is the ratio, so the multiplier. So we're going to go ahead and do problem A together. So we're really going to do 2 of the 6 together. So for this, let's kind of look at what we do know. So it tells us that this point right here is 0, 5. And then we also know, I don't know why they I guess want you to do some extra work here, but we basically can figure out this point because we know it's 1 to the right and 2 up from that, which means that this point is 1, 7. So we're actually able to have all the information that we need in order to come up with the equation. So we obviously know the a value is 5, and we know that from the fact that it's the y-intercept. So far we would have y equals 5 times, and then we're just looking for our multiplier. So because these are only 1 unit away from each other, you can see, well, what do you have to multiply 5 by in order to get 7? And an easy way to do that is to go backwards. So what you're really going to do is 7 divided by 5. And when you do that, you get 1.4. So your equation is just y equals 5 times 1.4 to the x. And then that totally makes sense because 1.4 is a b value that's greater than 1, which makes it an exponential growth equation. So from here, you would do b after this, so you can pause. And then we're going to go ahead and do c together. So c gives us just the intercept, and then they give us one other point, but the problem is it's not the point that's next to it. So we can kind of go backwards a little bit and figure it out, but there's kind of an easier way to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and write what I know. So I know that my 0th term or intercept is 7, and then again, this time I don't know my rate. So how you can actually solve for this, and it will work like this every time. So just like kind of like you're solving for the slope, you do y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. In this case, you take your y value of your larger term and divide by the other y value, so you get 8. Then, because they are 3 units away from each other, you're actually going to take the cube root of 8. So the cube root of 8 means what number times itself gives us 8, and that would be 2. And then if you're not sure, you could always check it. So for example, 2 cubed is 8, and 8 times 7 is 56. So again, how you do that, let's say I had 0, 7, then I had 5, something. So we would take that number, divide by 7, and then because it was 5, something, I would actually do the 5th root. Now on some of these problems, they don't actually give you the intercept. So what you can do is you would say, well, we know that the rate is 2, so you would have it in this form, and what you could do is actually plug in one of the points, and then that would allow you to solve for A. So that will happen with problem letter E. That's going to happen where you're going to have to solve for A. So this will help get you started. So that's 2 of them. You will just need to do 6. So all you're doing is coming up with the equations for the graph.